ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Stanley.
Oh, my voice sounds funny. Am I on? They can hear what I'm saying?
I'm going to ask everybody, I'm going to repeat the questions because sometimes we don't hear it as well as when you guys are saying it, so just be patient with me. I'm going to repeat.
No, he's just being kind. I'm half deaf.
We're going to sit down. This is going to be a nice...
Are these the people who were here yesterday? I did a panel yesterday. Are you the same?
That guy.
I was there.
Myself. Well, I have to ask you to leave because you're great.
Yeah, it's something new today.
All right.
We're going to recycle stuff. So is everybody having fun? You got to hang on with today. Good for you.
You were having fun even before I arrived? Without me, they were having fun?
We could not get in the door, but I think it wasn't your
All right.
Somebody else's. So we're gonna take questions because you know, and I'm sure you guys have a lot, so they'll just point to you. And that guy right there is very eager. If you stand up, say the question as loud as you can, and we'll tell you.
You missed Johnny Storm.
What about Storm?
You missed Johnny Storm.
Do I miss Johnny Storm? Well, he and I didn't hang out to begin with.
Thank you very much.
Isn't he around anymore? They killed the Human Torch?
Yeah. What happened to the Human Torch?
The guy said he died, apparently. He's afraid about running the MegaCon.
Is he died? Has any other characters died in the comic universe?
I don't think comic characters ever die real deaths. They die for a while, and then the next clever writer who comes along finds a way to revive them.
But for now he's dead.
I revived Captain America. I decided he was stuck in an ice cube for about 20 years or so, and they found him and dug him out. So they'll find some way to do it with the torch. Maybe he got caught in the stove.
You, sir.
I saw the movie Mallrats, where you say a lot of stuff to Jason Lee. How was that working with Kevin Smith and with Jason Lee? Was that a fun experience for you?
What was it? I heard Mallrats. I didn't hear it.
Thank you in Mallrats. Was it fun working with Kevin Smith and Jason Lee?
Well, it was difficult because I had so much to teach them. I had to teach Kevin Smith to be uninhibited, say what he thinks, you know, come out of his shell. Jason, I said, now here's how you act. But I must admit, they were grateful, they did well, and I was glad to see that they're doing okay for themselves now. No, they were really great to work with. I never had more fun. I'll tell you a funny thing about that movie. There was one scene in which I was supposed to make Jason or one of the guys feel good about their love life because they were unhappy because their girl had left them or something. And I said, there was a girl I was in love with and I've never been able to forget her, on and on. So I go home. My wife says, who is that girl? I said, honey, it's a movie. It was a script. It took me a little while to get things back to...
I can't stand up.
That's okay.
What was your inspiration for doing the Spider-Man?
Well, I don't know that it was an inspiration. I was looking around, you know, when you're writing superheroes or trying to create them, the first thing you think of is, all right, I want to do a new superhero. The first thing you think of is, what power will I give them to make them different than anybody else? So I have told this story so often that for all I know, it might even be true. I'm sitting around thinking, and I see a fly on the wall. And I say, boy, wouldn't it be cool? No, I'm lying. I don't think we had the word cool then. I probably said, wouldn't it be groovy? Wouldn't it be groovy if I could have a superhero who could crawl on walls like a fly? So I was halfway, but I needed his name. Was it Flyman? No, there was a movie that Flyman. Mosquito Man? That didn't sound dramatic. And I went down the list of things, and I got that Spider-Man. It sounds dramatic and dangerous. So I said, okay, I'll call him Spider-Man. And that's how a legend was.
Yep.
Is there a, if you could create one last superhero, what would you create? Do you use in your mind?
Like new ones?
Yeah, creating heroes.
Do you have any new ideas?
I always have new ideas. I can't tell you, but I'm working on a lot of new things now. Some will be good, some won't be, but the law of averages, one or two would have hit it.
You're right with that.
I also noticed you started doing some work with me, such as Hero Man, and I actually thought you were doing Marvel Wolverine and Marvel Iron Man. I was actually wondering, do you have any projects coming out on the side?
How are you going to summarize that in a couple of words? Yeah, well, I'm doing some stuff with Boom. We have 3 new books with Boom Comics. And of all things, I'm starting a new book with Archie, the Archie Company. They decided they want to do some superhero stuff. So I made up the world's first reality comic book. It's called The Mighty Seven. And I called it The Secret Seven, and would you believe it, there is a store or something in Podunk called The Secret Seven. We couldn't use that name. It would have been so good. So I called it The Mighty Seven. About 7, I'm not going to tell you what they are, but they're wonderful characters. And I'm in it. You see, that's what makes it a reality comic book. I play a role in it as myself in the comic. And Archie Comics is in it. They go up to the Archie offices. Everything is very real life. It's very true to life. Except we got these 7 new superheroes. So if that doesn't make you curious and want to go out and buy it, nothing will. You can't buy it yet. It hasn't been printed yet, but it will be. So watch for it. Stanley's Mighty Seven. And you can tell all your friends, I just bought a copy of the world's first reality show comic book. What the hell? Maybe I sold a copy just now.
Girl, all the way back to the
What do you think about the real life superheroes that are around now?
You could hear that?
Yeah.
Well, we got this television show called, I modestly called it Stan Lee's Superhumans. It's on the History Channel, and if you haven't been watching it, shame on you. Actually, I'm amazed. We sent this guy out, a fellow named Daniel, I believe, and he goes around the world looking for people who can do things that no normal person can do. And I never suspected he would find so many. And the show is doing so well. Nobody thought it would be anything. That the History Channel just ordered like 13 new episodes. We're working on them now. It looks like it should be a big hit. But we found men. In the new series, there's one guy, he's a Shaolin monk or something. He can take an electric drill and put it against his forehead on the side of his, and turn it on and press it against his skull, and it doesn't go in, it doesn't hurt him. And they found a guy who you can shoot a bullet in the air, and he can grab it as it's going by. I mean, these are real live people who have these abilities. So he was going out in the first season just looking for these people. But now that the show is on, we keep getting telephone calls and letters and emails from all over the world. Hey, I can walk on walls, I can jump 80 feet high, it's amazing. So anyway, just by accident, I think I'm going to have a hit show just because there is so many people in the world.
Is there anyone in the room that has a superpower?
I'm sure there are.
Is there anybody? You do? What is it?
I'm a glorious force!
There you go. You'll be on on our next episode.
Close the board. Good.
Aside from any Marvel or DC Comics characters, who's your favorite, like independent comic, like superhero?
Aside from any Marvel or DC characters, I heard that much, then I didn't get the rest. Oh yeah, me! That was an easy one.
If you had to get like one blind advice to a random person, what would it be?
One bit of advice to a random person: stop asking silly questions. No, I'm only kidding. I don't give advice. I don't know any more than anybody. I know less than most people. But I'm the biggest phony in the world, really. It's just that I like to talk to people, and I say anything that comes to mind, and most of it isn't true. But
You don't have to say
Everything that you've done, personally, professionally, what would you say is your greatest achievement?
I think surviving this panel. I don't know, Dad. That's for posterity to say. I'm kind of proud of everything. I never thought years ago when we were doing these comics that someday I'd be sitting in a panel and people would really care what my opinion was. We were, in those days, we just hoped the comics would sell so that we'd keep our jobs and be able to pay the rent. And all of a sudden, look at me on the stage. It's unbelievable. I got to tell you one thing. I'm never doing a panel again unless you're on the panel with me. You were great yesterday, you're great today, and thank you very much.
story, you probably won't remember this, or maybe you might.
No, I got no memory.
Okay. Then I can tweak it a little bit. When you were up at Marvel Comics and you asked me to come in one day, and you had,
No, I didn't. I commanded you.
I think your secretary actually commanded me, but I came in and they said, go upstairs to the big room, the glass doors, the slide room. And I went up there, and I was only working there maybe like 5 or 6 years, freelancing. And I walked in, and there's every editor at Marvel Comics sitting around the table with you. And you said, everybody knows Jimmy, right? Okay, Jimmy, tell these guys what they're doing wrong.
Did I say that?
Yeah. And I said, well, I will get work after this, right? And I proceeded to just, it was just minor stuff. Make sure they pull back quicker.
Yeah.
But it was the most nerve-wracking, like 20 minutes of my life. And I knew as soon as I turned my back, every editor in the room was giving me the finger after. But I survived that, and I know I survived it because you were there. And I was untouchable because you told everybody, this is the guy you can listen to, and I knew if they messed with me, I knew you were going to go after me. So I really...
The only thing I can't remember about that story, you said the big glass room. I had an office the size of this part of the table. The smallest office you ever saw.
The conference room on 12.
Oh, it was the conference room. Okay, it wasn't my office.
No. Didn't your office have a shower in it?
Hell no.
No? I remember one of the offices in the building had a shower.
Wasn't mine. I don't tell you the publishers. I forget who was the publisher at the time. Was it Jim Bolton?
No, I'm not sure.
We've had so many publishers. You would have change of management over the years. I can't even remember.
Yeah.
It might have been Calamari.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I appreciate like Stan has been my superhero ever since I was a kid, and being up here with him, you got to understand. It's like. It's like I just feel like I won. Every time I see him, I feel like I won something. This is like...
Well, that's as it should be.
Anyway, let's go right here. This gentleman.
Stan, is there another profession you would consider doing, not writing comic
books? My problem is I've wanted to do a million things. When I was a kid, my favorite actor was Errol Flynn. I don't know, Some of you won't even know who he is. He played in Robin Hood and Captain Blood, and he was the mayor of some western city, a gunfighter. He was everything. So I wanted to be an actor. I wanted to be like Errol Flynn. Then I used to love advertisements. When I buy a magazine, everybody else reads the stories. I go to the advertisements first. I wanted to be an advertising man. When I listened to the radio, I wanted to have a job on the radio. So I wanted to be and do everything. So you can imagine how frustrated I am. I'm just a comic book guy. That's why I formed this company, POW Entertainment, which of course POW, P-O-W, stands for Purveyors of Wonder. And we're trying to do movies and television shows and things like that. And I decided, just while I was here, I didn't tell the people at POW, I decided we're going to do some little half-minute or one-minute funny pieces. I thought of a few things that I think are funny that we're going to put on the internet and see if it becomes popular. Then we'll put them all together and make them into a television show. It probably won't work, but it's fun having things that you want to do. You know, when I wake up in the morning, if there's nothing I want to do, I feel like going back to sleep again. There has to be something you want to do, and I think that's off the subject anyway, and I'm just rambling. I'm sorry.
Let's see. 10 years from now.
After a long, hard day at work, Stan, what's your favorite go-to meal?
Go-to meal? Whatever my wife cooks. I have nothing to say about it. I never know what I'm going to get.
What was your actual inspiration for the X-Men?
Well, I wouldn't call it inspiration. It was more cowardice. I wanted to get a new team of superheroes, but I had a problem. I had run out of gamma rays and cosmic rays and radioactive stuff. I'm not really a scientist, and when I had Bruce Banner become the Hulk because of, I think they were gamma rays, I wouldn't know a gamma ray if I saw one. I read the name somewhere. It sounded good. Cosmic rays, there's something up in the sky. That's all I know about it. But I had already used gamma rays and cosmic rays, and I had a radioactive spider. I couldn't think of any other, I don't know the names of any other rays. So how am I going to get a new group of superheroes? And then it hit me. What if I just say they were born that way? Then I won't need any scientific explanation. I'll just say they're mutants. So I say it was the cowardly way out. I didn't have to create some involved thing with getting hit by rays. I'll tell you a funny thing about the mutants, which... See, I shouldn't have said that, because if you don't think it's funny, I'll have failed. I'll tell you an odd thing about the mutants. When I decided to do the book, I walked into my publisher and I said, hey, I got an idea for a new book. Oh, good, what is it? I want to call it The Mutants. And he looked at me and he said, Stan, he didn't have a very high opinion of our readers, I think. He said, nobody is going to know what a mutant is. You can't call it The Mutants. Well, he was the boss, so I said, I'll think of another name. So I figured each of them have an extra power. The head of the school is Professor X Xavier. I'll call him the X-Men. So I walked back to Martin and I said, hey, how about I call him the X-Men? He said, yeah, that's a good name. And as I walked out of his office, I thought to myself, if nobody knows what a mutant is, how is anybody going to know? But anyway, I had my title. I didn't say anything to Martin. He never knew what he was doing. And that's how the name came about.
Yes, I get it. Yes.
What is Excelsior?
If you look up Excelsior in the dictionary, the first definition it'll give you is that kind of sandy stuff you use when you're packing a package, so it doesn't move around in the package. And so many people would write me letters. Why do you use an expression that has to do with stuff you stuff packages with? But if you have an unabridged dictionary, it'll tell you it is an old English expression, which means upward and onward to greater glory. And it's also the word on the symbol, the coat of arms, or whatever you call it, of New York State. So I love the word, and the reason, see, everything reminds me of a story that you have when you become old and stupid. And I forgot what the story was. It'll come to me. Okay.
I was wondering, what makes a great storyteller in your opinion?
What makes a great what?
Story.
Guy who can tell great stories. I don't know, a guy who can hold your interest and make you wonder what's coming next and make you care about the characters. Because if you don't care about the characters, you usually don't care about the story. So the most important thing to me in any story is to get characters that you become involved with. And then when they're in trouble, you worry about it and you want them to get out of it okay. Oh, I remember the Excelsior thing. Hold it. People always ask me, why do you use the word? I used to write all these columns and editorials and things in the comics, and I'd end up with silly expressions that I had, like I'd end a column with "nuff said," or "hang loose," or "face front," or any silly things. But I found that the competition was starting to use all the expressions I had used. I didn't like that. So I said, I've got to find something that they won't know how to spell it and they won't know what it means. And that's the reason I came up with Excelsior. And DC still hasn't gotten around to using it. I'm sorry, somebody there was going to say something.
I was just wondering how does a pen show you how much your work means to them when you stand up?
You don't have to whisper it, it's not a secret. The best way to fan to me? Oh, just by being here and being so nice and buying everything I ever write. That's the kind of question I like. Gives me a chance to sell things. Thank you.
All the way back to that.
What's the weirdest or funniest experience with a fan you've ever had?
A girl who wanted me to autograph a certain part of her anatomy. You never disappoint a fan. That's a lie, but I thought it was a good thing.
Right here.
First of all, thanks for your imagination. Thanks everybody. Thanks for your existence. What artists that you're going to work with, or I'm just reading the comic book, what artists will touch you most, and are the Yankees your best friend?
There's an artist I just met, and I forgot his name. And oh damn. Bowen, is there a Bowen, his last name? No, that's not him. He's out there with, he draws the sexiest girls, and he does a lot of stuff for Marvel. And J. Scott Campbell is the other one. There were two of them. J. Scott Campbell did a great poster, and he and I are going to work on some stuff together.
Oh, Greg Horn.
Greg Horn! I just met Greg. J. Scott I know. And the two of them, I think, see, my problem is I don't really read the comics anymore. I don't have time to. And where years ago, I knew every artist and writer and letterer and colorist in the business and editor. I don't know any of them now. Sometimes somebody will show me a new magazine, whether Marvel or someone else's, and I look at the cover and there are the names of all the people who worked on them. I don't know one name. They're all new. And then I look through the magazine and the artwork is gorgeous, and I hate myself for not knowing these people. So what was the name of the guy? Greg Horn. I happened to see something he had done, and he's working on something that is a presentation for something that I'm working on, and I can't say any more about it. So I was very thrilled that he's doing that. And J. Scott Campbell is a funny thing. There's an illustrator who used to work for either Esquire or Playboy, I don't remember, two gorgeous girls. And his name was E. Sims Campbell. And I kept getting J. Scott Campbell mixed up with E. Sims Campbell. And I told J. Scott Campbell about E. Sims Campbell. And I told J. Scott Campbell to look up E. Sims Campbell and Google him and learn about him. And how did I get into that? I don't remember what the question was, but those two guys.
Yankees or Mets?
Pardon me?
Yankees or Mets?
Yankees or Mets? Yeah. Yankees, of course. What a silly question. I'll tell you a funny thing about that. Years ago, I was too busy really to follow sports. So when I was writing the comics, I had so many things to write. So I didn't know what was going on in the World Series or anything for a while. I just didn't have time. And I get into a cab, and I learned how to talk to people without saying anything. I'm going to teach you this little lesson if it ever happens to you. The cab driver would say something. The minute you get in the cab, "Hey, what do you think of them Yanks?" I didn't know what he was talking about. But I had to answer him, so I'd say, "Man, wasn't that something?" And then he'd say, "And how about," and he'd name some player who did something. And I go, "Boy, you can say that again." All through the ride, we have a conversation. When I'm saying things like, "You know it, buddy." They thought I was a big sports fan. And I think what this proves, I am probably the biggest phony there. But I got such a kick out of it. You have a whole conversation with the guy without saying anything. Sorry about that.
Is there any chance that Who Wants to Be a Superhero would come back?
Any chance that the show was a superhero?
No, I don't think so. It didn't do that well, and then they tried it in England. They tried it with teenagers, the same show, and it didn't do well either there, so there's something about it. But don't worry about it, because Stan Lee's Superhumans more than makes up for it.
What's it like seeing your creations they made in the live action movies?
I heard live action.
What's it like seeing your creations?
Oh, it's wonderful. You know, the best part about it, the guys making the movies do all the work, and I get a lot of credit. But no, it's terrific. I love going to them, and I love doing the cameos. Wait till you see the Thor cameo, and I'm supposed to do the Spider-Man cameo in another week or two, and they just called and said that the Captain American cameo will be ready for me soon. I hope they have me playing a guy who's a hero on Captain America's team fighting. That isn't what they have in mind.
Right here again. So the booming voice.
What did you think of the Spider-Man musical?
The Spider-Man musical. I had
Wait, who saw it this year? You did. What did you think of it?
Visually amazing? But it's amazing to see. I'll go see it.
Well, I had seen a rehearsal. I was in New York, and they invited me to rehearsal about 2 months ago. And I must say, what I saw in the rehearsal was wonderful. You know, it was just a few minutes of it, the scenes, and it looked fantastic. The critics have not loved it, but you know, they're still working on it, and they're rewriting it, and I have a feeling with all the money that they've invested so far, they're not going to let it not go forth and be a hit. They'll find some way to make it good.
Yes.
I'm actually speaking on behalf of my girlfriend. She loves you, and I just want to let you know.
You can all hear that, and I can't. I hate all of you.
The nicest way he was telling you his girlfriend loves you.
You just said, well, thank you very much. Where is she? Let me see her.
She's at work, of course.
Oh, my luck, I get you.
Put the hat back.
Okay. Well, you just autographed the first issue of the Traveler for me yesterday, but I noticed in it, like I got that one and a couple of the other new ones from Boom Studio. I was disappointed because it said you were the Grand Poobah, but you didn't write it. Are you going to do any more writing?
It's from Boom, right?
Yeah.
So you got some titles with some titles from Boom. It says inside your Grand Poobah, but you notice that we didn't write it. We're actually going to write it.
No. A big question like that, and the answer is no.
Both of you. One at a time.
So it's an honor to talk to you, first of all. When you worked with Jack Kirby, how did you convey what you had on paper to him to get us to make it look the right way? Did you guys see eye to eye?
When I worked with Jack Kirby, how did I convey? And then you lost me.
What you had in the script to Jack to illustrate.
Well, the way Jack and I worked, it was called the Marvel method, because we invented it. I would just tell him what I wanted the story to be. Let's say it was a Fantastic Four story. I'd say, hey Jack, it would be great if Submariner comes up to the surface, sees Sue Storm and falls in love with her, and he kidnaps her and brings her down to Atlantis because he wants to make her his queen. And the Fantastic Four have to go down to rescue her. And I wouldn't say much more than that. And Jack would draw the whole thing any way he wanted. He'd usually throw in 100 ideas I never would have thought of. Then I'd get the artwork. And it was great for me because it was almost like doing a crossword puzzle. Half of the time I had no idea what the hell Jack was doing there. But I had to make a real good story out of it. And the drawings were so good. And it was so easy. So I had the fun of taking those drawings and putting in the dialogue and the captions. And I had my own system. If a drawing, if one of the panels didn't have much action or anything in it, I try to put in a lot of dialogue balloons or captions or sound effects. When he had a panel that was really great to look at, I put in almost no dialogue. I wanted to give the illustration all the reader's attention. And I would always indicate where the balloons were. I was a fanatic about it. The letter, I had to put the balloon exactly where I wanted it. Because to me, in a comic book, the placing of the balloons is a part of the artwork. It's a part of the decoration of the panel. So Jack really created a lot of the incidents in the story. He made up a lot of them. The general idea of the story was mine. What I wanted, the broad outline of the story was mine. But Jack did it the way he wanted, and then I would put in the dialogue. I very often introduced thoughts that were not originally in the story, and I played with it. And I did that with all the artists. I was so lucky. I had artists who were also great storytellers. They were great visual storytellers. They should have all been doing Hollywood storyboards. Anyway, I'm rambling on, but that's the way it was, and I loved working with them that way.
Mr. Lee, I gotta say, with great power comes great responsibility. It's probably one of the most amazing things ever created, as far as superheroes and philosophy. And I really gotta know, how did you come up with that? I mean, with the inherent ability of it, where did that come from?
You know what's frustrating to me? I heard everything you said except the key word. You said something is, and then you said, how did you come up with it? Something was that you said.
Everybody in here knows, with great power comes great responsibility.
I didn't realize it was going to be an expression that people would remember. I don't know. It was just part of what I was writing. I thought it was a nice caption to put in. I didn't give it a second thought. It's funny because I got a call a few years ago from a guy who's the Attorney General of the state of Rhode Island. And he wanted me to come to Rhode Island because he was opening up his new office. He wanted me to be there because he had a plaque on his door that said, with great power comes great responsibility. And people do quote that a lot, and I get a kick out of it, but to me it was just another thing I was writing. I didn't think that much of it at the time.
Over there, you think I'm wrong?
Puppy? Will you get this puppy?
What?
Will you get this puppy?
Will Stan kiss a puppy?
Yes.
I love puppies, but I don't go around kissing them.
Yes, that's right.
Is there any specific superhero that hasn't been made into a movie yet that you would like to see made into a live action movie?
Any time did not be into a movie yet.
Oh, yeah, quite a few. Two that I can remember now are the Black Panther and Doctor Strange. I think the chances are they both will be made into movies, and I understand somebody's working on Ant-Man.
You recently worked with the NHL, the Guardians Project. Can you explain that experience and what it was working with those guys?
We used to work with the NHL and the Guardians Project.
Oh yeah, this is such a big thing. I'm nervous about it, but we have a deal with the NHL, the National Hockey League, for those of you who aren't with it. And I worked on creating 30 different superheroes, one for each of the National Hockey League teams. And they're going to promote the hell out of this. It's going to be a very big thing, and I'm responsible for 30 superheroes that different people are going to be writing and drawing, and if they're good, it'll be great, and if they're not, I'm going to get the blame. But it'll be a very big project, and they had one hockey game to launch it just recently in LA, and they had this big screen that they have, in arenas, and they had all the characters flash on the screen, and the audience went crazy, and they had me drive, what do they call it, a Zamboni? They let me drive with the Zamboni driver, and I waved to the crowd, and they were waving back, and they didn't know who the hell I was. Some guy waving at them, so they waved back. So anyway, that's what it's going to be. That's my name! The girl said that.
My dad's been a big fan of your work since he was my age, and he can't be here, but he really wants to know, which is your proudest superhero creation?
That is a big fan of yours, and she doesn't know what the character you're most proud of.
Oh, gee, I'm proud of all of them. All the way from Irving Forbush to... well, I guess I'm certainly proud of Spider-Man because he's become the most popular and the most famous of all of them around the world. But I do love all of them. I love the Fantastic Four. I love Daredevil. The movie wasn't a huge hit, but I really like that character. I certainly like the X-Men. And, I can just name all of them. I love everything I've ever done.
Right there with that, yes.
Just want to say as a writer myself, you're a few different ones. What's your relationship today with Steve Ditko?
It's a huge inspiration. I think you still have a relationship with Steve Ditko.
Well, I don't see Steve, but nobody sees Steve.
Yeah.
He's a little bit of a hermit, but we're still friendly. I mean, I met him at the office a few years ago, and we even discussed maybe working on a script together. And I said, why don't we do, just for fun, why don't we do another Spider-Man or a new Doctor Strange? And he said he didn't want to do those. He said anything else. And I couldn't think of anything else at the moment, so we ended up not doing anything. But I don't understand Steve Ditko. He's a little bit of a hermit. He doesn't want to do interviews. He doesn't want people to take photos of him. But he's nice enough. You talk to him. He's a mystery to me, an enigma wrapped inside of a riddle.
All the way at the end in that crazy suit. Yes. What's that?
We would like to do a classic fight scene.
Okay, make it quick. Make it quick.
What's he
They want to
doing?
do a classic fight scene.
How did you come up with Peter Parker's character? Did you base it off someone you know, or maybe yourself?
How did I come up with what? Oh, no. What happened was, I hate teenage sidekicks. I hated Bucky Barnes in Captain America. I hated Robin in Batman. I always felt if I were a superhero, there's no way on earth I would go around with some teenager. I mean, at the very least, people would talk. So, for some reason, I don't know what made me decide, but I wanted something different with Spider-Man. And I thought, just for fun, I'm going to make him a teenager, but I'm going to make him the kind of teenager that really exists in the world. He's not the handsomest guy in the world. He's not that successful with girls. He doesn't have enough money. He's not that popular. He has trouble worrying about his family. His aunt is always sick and in trouble. A typical teenager that life is pretty lousy for. And just the opposite of a Robin, the boy wonder. And that's how you came to be, and look how nicely you developed. The other guy had nothing to do with it. Thank you, guys.
Hi, when they make a movie about you, who would you want to play?
Oh, there's nobody really good enough. He'd be the closest, Downey Jr. He's also a great guy. The funny thing is, they are, believe it or not, they've done a documentary about me, and they just haven't, I haven't died yet, so they don't know how to answer. It's very funny. I mean, it's a whole damn feature-length documentary, and they're starting to take it around how to find a distributor. We'll see what will happen, I think. I'm embarrassed by it.
Who would buy that documentary? That's no excuse for you not to buy his comics as well.
Are there any characters that you hate or jealous of not creating?
Any characters you hate or jealous of not creating?
Oh, yeah, Wolverine. I should have created Wolverine. And Deadpool, I should have created. And I don't know why I didn't create Batman. I could have done that. No, sure, you know, when you're a writer, anything that anybody else writes that's successful, you wish you had written it. So I wish I wrote it. I don't know how I missed out on War and Peace either.
Me and my friend are true believers, and my question is, now that you
reach celebrity status, was there any celebrity you got to work with where you're like, wow, I can't believe I'm working with this celebrity?
Yeah, believe it or not, him I heard. Well, I've met a lot of celebrities. I don't know how many I've worked with, but I got friendly with Hugh Hefner. He's sort of, a poor man's imitation of.
Wow to me.
I didn't hear anyone you were really wow. Well, I'm wild when I meet anybody. I mean, I'm like anyone else. If I meet some actor or some writer or some artist that I've read about or heard about or liked, I'm always impressed. When I met Roger Corman, the director and producer of those old movies years ago, I met Steven Spielberg. That was a thrill. He said a great thing to me. To be serious for a moment. He said, Stan, you and I, this was years ago, you and I do the same thing, except my pictures move. And I never forgot that. I thought that was kind of a nice thing to say. Because I don't really, Steven Spielberg is here and I'm here. But to say that, I've met a lot of people. I can't remember all of them now. I'll tell you a funny thing. I met President Bush. He gave me an award. Now, there's an actress named, what is her name? The girl who always played with, what's her name? I can't remember. Anyway, some actress. He gave me.
She was beautiful.
Yeah, she was.
That's all.
He gave her an award and he kissed her on the cheek. Then it got to be my turn, and I got up there, and he gave me the award. And I said to him, I'm not going to have to kiss you, am I? And he started laughing, and I started laughing, and somebody took a picture of it, and we're both standing there going, and when you look at this picture, it's like me and my best friend. So I got a kick out of that. And I met Ronald Reagan. We were having some kind of a dinner, and it just happened, I'm sitting here, and Ronald Reagan is sitting there facing me, and the table was no wider than this, so our noses were almost touching during dinner, and I couldn't believe it. I'm having dinner with the ex-president of the United States, a great man. So what do you say? You have to make conversation, you're facing a guy. So the first thing I thought of saying was, gosh, Mr. President, you must be so relieved that you're a civilian now and the cares of the world are not any longer on your shoulders. And he looked at me with such enthusiasm in his face, and he said, just the way I'm going to say it, he said the same way, no, I love being president. I never forgot that. I love being president. So that was Ronald Reagan.
This is going to be a last question, unfortunately.
I got a lot of other presidents.
All right. It's going to be this right here. We've got yes. Now, better be a good one. Okay.
My question today was to ask you a question that you've never been asked before, and I don't know if it happened to this one, but I'm going to try.
Don't screw it up.
Everybody in this room, I'm sure, has a plan or an idea of what they would do, but I want to hear yours. With the zombie apocalypse.
This is so frustrating. I heard you're trying to wear something I haven't been asked before, and then you said everyone in this room has, and I'm dying to find out, and I didn't find out what the rest of it was.
I said, what would you do if the zombie apocalypse happened?
I'd run for cover.
Well, everybody, thank you so much.
Thank you.